So hey everybody, look who is here. This is Bruce Richman, and we're going to talk about him and what he does, and yeah, I'm going to ask him some questions. So my first question, Bruce, is what is U equals U? What does it mean?
U equals U is a message and a movement. The message is that a person living with HIV who has an undetectable viral load cannot transmit HIV sexually. And the movement part of it is the people living with HIV all over around the world. There's 640 organizations, 76 countries, making sure that this message gets out to the people it was intended to benefit.
I know from following you on social media, Bruce, that you're really passionate about this, and what was it that, you know, lit that fire under your ass, you know, to make you, you know, talk about this and go all over the world, you know, with this message?
Well, when I was diagnosed in 2003 and found out in 2012 that I couldn't transmit the virus because I was undetectable. And that changed everything for me. That was just gave me possibility of love and hope and babies in my life that I never thought that could be possible. And I started realizing that other people really didn't know that all the information sites, everything online except for Swiss statement was like a holy grail, but most things were saying, or pretty much everything, public health information was saying, you're still a risk. And then I started, something's wrong with this. Why do I know and all these other people don't know? Why am I the lucky one? And so I started talking to heads of clinics and medical associations, and people would say to me, oh yeah, we know that, we've known that for a while. Even some people in the HIV positive community would say that we've known that. But we don't tell people that because people living with HIV might stop using condoms and there'll be a rise of STIs, or they won't understand that in order to stay undetectable, they need to stay on the medication. So we just don't tell that information to them. So eventually I just couldn't. About 2015, I left my job and moved back to New York and started to organize and try to get this information out to the public, because it just wasn't fair. It was so deeply screwed up that you know, science was here and the public was here, and just those of us connected to the science and to the established privileged medical community, we would get the information. The people mostly who are already left out by the system weren't getting information, and that was not okay.
So you said you were diagnosed in 2003. That's a few years before I was diagnosed. What was the future when you found out you were positive? What did you see as your future in 2003?
Yeah, when I was diagnosed in 2003, I first thought I would die because I remembered the earlier years and seeing people die and having gone through that hell, but I knew rationally I knew there was medications available. So really the main concern after that initial shock was, who's going to love me? How am I going to have a relationship now? How am I going to be able to be intimate with someone without the fear of transmitting this ugly infection to them? And so I withdrew and I isolated for a long time. I actually was alone for 13 years because of that fear, and this has really helped me to come out of that. You know?
That just, you know, from my side, that you talking about fear, I remember that fear, and it's horrible, isn't it? It's just the thought that you could pass this virus on to somebody. You know, I did very much what you did. I withdrew, you know, because I just couldn't imagine, you know, passing on this what seemed like a horrible, disease, and the way it was looked at as a disease, onto anybody else. So I understand that completely.
Yeah, and even in the dating world, and the gay scene was horrible. I remember, I remember going on a date with someone. I think it was 4 or 5 years after diagnosis, and it's like, okay, I'm get out there again. And we were having dinner, and he said, "I wouldn't date anyone who's HIV positive, would you?" And then I remember a friend of mine. I didn't even know this being HIV positive for quite a while. And a friend of mine who didn't know at the time said, I said something about, who's that guy? And he said, that's so whatever. He's HIV positive, And it was just sort of those little microaggressions that I'm glad I got to experience that kind of discrimination and stigma, and because it's fueled the fire for this campaign. And I realized that my brothers and sisters who are from marginalized communities and people of color have experienced this all their lives. So for me to get a sort of a tiny glimpse of that was definitely valuable to this whole movement.
As we both know, Bruce, there's people all over the world that are pushing this campaign and fighting for it to be known. But what needs to change? Because something does need to change, because I only found out about you 2 years ago, and I've been diagnosed since 2006. So what do, I know it's probably the question that what do we need to do to get that information out there by medical people? And I know the CDC have recently, come on board and things, which is great, but there's still more, isn't there?
We need to invest in organizations that are committed to getting the message out. We work with 640, organizations around the world, and many of them are actively getting this information out. Those are the pioneering organizations. Those are the organizations who care about people living with HIV. Those are the ones that are going to lead us to the end of this epidemic. The ones that are not getting this message out, and are still withholding, and are still kind of hanging on to that old way of inserting fear in between HIV negative and HIV positive people. Yeah. Someone just wrote today that fear is good for marketing campaign. So those organizations need to go away. Mm-hmm. We need to focus on the organizations that are innovative and forward thinking. So that's number one. Number two is that we need to make sure that we have to provide the encouragement and materials and training, but encouragement from the top. So in the UK, you've got, I could just name, we just named all these people that are leaders and are out speaking about can't pass it on and you equals you, and they're talking about it at conferences, they're tweeting about it, they're writing articles about it, they're getting it in the media, they're using their PR communications team from their agencies to get this message out. It's brilliant what's happening in the UK, and we're seeing a lot of that in other places, like in Canada, like in Australia. We need more of that everywhere around the world, including in the United States. We need organizations, the leaders at the top, to speak about this, that this is a priority, and encourage people to say it, whether it's encourage their networks to say it. So that's one thing, is the encouragement from the top, and then we need the training and the materials, and we are working on that. We have many different partners who are working on getting these providers the materials and the training they need to be confident in saying this, because it is really new, and you can't just throw someone a study or an article and say you to your patients.
Well, I know you go all over the world to talk about you equals you, but I want to ask you a personal question. If you had to pick one of these characters, who would it be? So it's the Golden Girls. So if you had to be a Golden Girl, which Golden Girl would you be?
Wait, you are assuming I even know the show.
I am assuming you know the show. Do you not know the show?
I've watched it maybe once.
Oh my God!
I'm so sorry. I get thrown out of the gay cisgender.
That's it, Bruce. You're going to be put into a corner now.
Look at me. Do I look like a typical gay man with this? I can't even. I have no fashion sense. I don't watch RuPaul's Drag Race. I don't know the Golden Girls. Do you have another one?
Okay. Well, the only other one I could think of would be Sex and the City.
Okay, that I have someone's forced me to sit through that.
Okay, so
Samantha, of course.
Everybody wants to be Samantha.
We all want to be the Samantha.
Oh, of course.
I'm the Samantha.
Okay. Well, thank you, Bruce, for talking to me.
Thanks,
And you know, I know you're very modest, and I know you work real hard, but it's what you are doing. For me, like me in the UK, being able to see what you're doing, the fight it's amazing for me, and I know for other people with HIV that I'm in touch with. It's great what you're doing. So please keep up.
Well, thank you for saying that. On a day like today, it helps a lot to get good feedback, and the same to you. You know, you speaking out and all the videos that you've been doing and educating and on social media has been really, really powerful and helpful, and you inspire me. So I appreciate it. Thanks.
Now I'm going to take you for a coffee. Okay.
Okay, let's do that.